Hello and welcome back to the Riverside Church podcast, where our mission is to equip you to live out the gospel in everyday life. Today we have with us our friends from Sunset Ministries, and I would just like to take a minute to do some introductions. So we have Eugene and Casey, and I just go one by one, and Eugene, we'll start with you. Can you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and your walk with Jesus, and we'll get kind of into the ministry stuff here in a minute. So.
Sure. Seth, I'd like to say first, thanks for having us on today. It's much appreciated at us to get to come and share the mission that God has put upon our hearts. And so, yes, my name is Eugene Mills, born and bred right here in this valley, have lived here with the exception of really 1 year of my life. I've never lived more than about 20 miles from this spot right here. And so, I am a widower, I can say it that way. But I have 3 children, 7 grandchildren, one of which is already in glory as well. And so, very blessed man, pastored for many years, did more evangelistic style ministry for many years, and then God impressed upon my heart for Sunset Ministries, and so that's where we've been for the past, since 2018.
Oh, wow.
So.
Awesome. So, Casey, you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. I'm Casey Cooper. I am a wife, a mom, and most importantly, a child of the Lord. I am privileged to serve here locally at my local church, Glenver Baptist, along with on several boards and ministries. I get to serve side by side with my dad, which is a very neat privilege to get to serve the Lord with him here at Sunset. And then I serve as well with a national board and with my own ministry, Things Hoped For. I grew up in this area. I've been privileged to serve the Lord in this area, and I'm excited to get to chat with you today and share a little bit about what we're doing here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to know, maybe get into a little specifics here for a minute. Have you always been a believer? We'll start with Eugene.
Okay.
Have you always been a believer, or was it something that kind of happened?
Absolutely not. I was thinking of that on the way over here today. My story's probably a little long for the podcast, but I can give you a condensed. I grew up in what I would call a non-Christian home. I was taken to church a few times as a child and growing up, and my mom done the best she could, but work situations and things of that, I wasn't in the house of God regularly. I did have a lady that I stayed with that was my babysitter, that she would take me to church with her as well. But it was not until 23 years of age that I actually put my faith and trust in Christ. And so I lived through my teenage years pretty rebellious. I like to say it this way. I didn't do some of the things some people did, but I done a lot of things a whole lot of people did.
There you go.
And so, and God really had to do a work on me to get me to the point of where I was as I was driving over before I actually picked Casey up. I got to thinking about that, and one of the things that really stuck in my heart was how hard that year or so before I actually trusted Christ were. I made life pretty miserable for my wife. We had one child. Casey's my second child, but we had one at the time, and I was a pretty miserable man because I didn't have that knowledge, and my wife had trusted Christ, and so we were in that constant battle of, her being a Christian and me being a non-Christian, and it got pretty bad for a while, and but eventually, and I'll get into maybe a little bit more of that in a moment, eventually I come to the knowledge of Christ through a lot of prayer, through a lot of supplication, and I'm where I'm at today all these years later. That was in the fall of 1990.
Yeah.
And so here I am, 35 years later, and still serving the Lord. I had a friend, I'll make this quick and then Casey can share. I had a friend that asked me right after I got saved. I used to cuss with him. I used to tell the dirty jokes with him. We'd say all the stuff together. And my friend Ricky looked at me one day and he said, "What is wrong with you?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well," he said, "you don't cuss with me. You don't tell the jokes. You don't catcall the women with me anymore. He said, what in the world happened? And I said, well, Ricky, I put my faith and trust in Christ, and I'm trying to live a different life now. And I'll never forget that, because he looked at me that day and his words were these: you'll get over it. And I'm very blessed that 35 years later, I still have Ricky in my life.
That's right.
And Ricky has helped our ministry.
Wow.
But at the same time, I'm not over it.
Mm.
And I'm very blessed by that.
That's awesome. Well, I love that, because I think that sets a great tone, because some people may be watching this and they may see people who lead these ministries and whatnot, and they may say, oh, well, they've got it together. They're just in ministry because, they're from a Christian home and that's how they were raised and they have everything handed to them, so they have the affordability to do it. No, I mean, more often than not, people who go into ministry go into it for a reason.
Right.
Yeah.
It's because of what God did in their lives. And it's the work that's done there.
Right.
So, Casey, any, just your walk with Jesus and how you kind of came into relationship with him?
Sure. So I was privileged to grow up in a Christian home because of everything that my parents worked through shortly before I was born. And I grew up in a church that was very focused on sharing the gospel, but not always focused on discipleship. And so I can remember I had an incredible child teachers in that church. And every Sunday morning they would teach us Bible lessons. But every Sunday night, the pastor would get up and he would yell fire and brimstone. And so every Sunday night, I can remember in my head saying, "Dear Jesus, if I'm not really saved, please make sure you save me."
Yeah.
For years.
Yeah.
And it just not fully understanding, I think, that connection between what my head knew and what my heart felt. And actually went to prayer advances and church camp with my now church. It wasn't actually the church we were attending, but because my dad was in ministry and we were moving all over the place all the time, they really adopted my brother and I and took us in and sent us to church camp. And it was at one of those that it started to really fully hit me that it was a permanent thing.
Yeah.
And I do believe that I was already saved, but I think just getting that assurance that I wasn't going to lose it, that it wasn't going anywhere, that when he died for me, he died for every mistake that I made. And that was really kind of a turning point for me. And then I was blessed to get to go to Bible college, and I was blessed to get to spend a little bit of time on the mission field.
Okay.
But I think in 2022, my life kind of shifted, and all of a sudden my faith went on public display. We went through some big trials. It was about a year of me struggling for my life, and my daughter's life. And so it was a very public display.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, all of these pieces that were internalized were open for everyone to see. And that does some things to you when you're, fighting for your life, but you're also fighting to want to share your relationship with Jesus, and all the while struggling to think, I'm not worthy of this. I'm not worthy to be sharing who Jesus is, and having to come to grasp with, no, I'm not worthy, but he is.
Yeah.
And everything that he is doing, he is worthy of the praise for all of this.
Yeah.
And so it really kind of cemented a lot of my faith even further, that that none of it's about me. None of it is about even my story. It's all about him and what he's done, and how precious his gifts to us are every day.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's, again, just a powerful testament to how God uses broken people.
And Seth, through her trials, I know Riverside prayed for her, for our family, through everything that she went through, her and her husband. And, Riverside was part of that prayer chain, part of that group.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Thousands of people across. I mean, we know there was prayer going up as far away as Portugal.
Wow.
For her and for her husband, and other places in the world as well. And so it was quite the story.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think sometimes we hear incredible testimonies like my dad's, where they were far away from the Lord, And then God drew them near. And I think sometimes when you grow up in a Christian home, you think, well, I don't have that cool of a testimony.
Yeah.
But it has nothing to do with how it takes just as much grace to save us, before we've committed all of those acts as it does after.
That's right.
And I'm very thankful for that, and thankful for his continued grace and mercy in my life and all of my broken pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Awesome. Well, I want to kind of jump into Sunset Ministries. So we kind of have the background. I'd like to know, maybe describe Sunset Ministries and then how you got involved, like how it started, how everything kind of came to be with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to do that part to initialize. I had been a Christian for many years. I had worked in evangelistic type of ministry for many years, preaching everywhere. Me and Casey and Tracy and Ethan traveled all over the place. And then God, of course, through an injury on a job that I was working, a public job, I kind of got forced out of that, but I was preaching. And you never want to challenge God, because I used to say, God, if you just let them fire me, then it would force me into doing what I want to do anyway.
Yeah.
And through the injury, the company had to let me go. Now, please understand, no hard feelings there. I understood it.
Yeah.
And I still love the time I spent with that company, love the people there. But it took me out of the field that I was in. And within a month, I'm at home trying to figure out what in the world am I going to do to take care of my family. And I got a phone call, and it was a pastor friend. And he said, hey, you available next Sunday? And I said, well, I reckon. Why? And he said, there's a little church down on Jennings Creek that needs somebody to speak for one service. 11 years later, I left. So after 11 years at Jennings Creek, pastoring the church, and some of the greatest people in this world, they loved me and Tracy with everything in them. They treated us well. And when we left, it was for the simple reason God impressed upon my heart to start Sunset Ministries. I have to back up just a little bit.
Yeah.
And the reason I need to back up is this. In 1990, when I first trusted Christ, within about 2.5 to 3 months of putting my faith and trust in Christ, I stepped foot for the first time in one of Richfield Retirement's facilities. It's a building that's still there called Ridgecrest.
Mm-hmm.
I stepped through the side door of the Regency room at Ridgecrest, and it was either real late 1990 or the first month of 91. And to this day, I'm still there. 35 years later, still doing ministry there.
Wow.
So the senior part come as something in my heart.
Yeah.
And through the time of doing the evangelistic work and doing the pastoral work, I still couldn't let loose of the thought that there was a need that I didn't see getting filled, which was seniors.
Yeah.
And so in 2017, myself and my wife sat down, we talked it over, and I said, I really feel like I need to step away from pastoral ministry and start this. Now, this is when it gets interesting. I had an idea of what I wanted to do, or what I felt like God was calling me to do more specifically. So I called and I polled and I talked to many pastors. I think I ended up talking to about somewhere in the neighborhood 23, 25 pastors.
Wow.
And out of 23 to 25 pastors, I had 2 that said it was possible.
Wow.
2 was it. Everybody else said, that won't work. You can't do that. That's not possible. But God.
That's right.
And so I pushed forward with it. I resigned my position as a pastor, started Sunset Ministries officially May of 2018, and we have been going strong ever since. I think a lot of people thought COVID would do us in, because here we are, a fresh start ministry, just getting started. Our only place we typically were working at that time was in the assisted living facilities.
Right.
And now all of a sudden the doors are shut. The doors to the assisted livings were closed and shut. Well, how is a ministry going to do what they're supposed to do if they can't go and do it.
Right, especially
yet-
in a demographic that's largely not online. So that
Right.
part of it you couldn't even.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yet we found a way. I began to do every week, a newsletter. It'd like to work me to death. But I did a weekly newsletter for almost 2 full years.
Wow.
And I mailed it out, I emailed it out, I text messaged it out so that those seniors that had access, I would mail copies to the activities director so that they could give them to the residents.
Wow.
And we were able to keep Sunset going through the COVID period. And then once that turned the corner, most of those facilities had closed or, had gone different routes. So we had to work our way back in again. And it has been quite the challenge, but we're still going strong. As a matter of fact, I challenged Casey, I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. I believe we're stronger now than we were on day one of the ministry.
Yeah.
Naturally, that comes with time, but
Sure.
The things that we've been able to accomplish and do as a ministry have been absolutely astounding.
Wow.
Sometimes I just sit back and think to myself, how?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
And it's not me. It's not her. It's not one of our other board members that is a member here at Riverside and our other board members that we've had. It's not them. It's God. He's done every bit of it.
That's right. That's right.
So,
So how did you get involved? I mean, your dad probably roped you into it, I'm sure.
Well, initially, that's actually a funny question. I always said that my heart in ministry was for children, and it's funny how God changes our heart over time,
Yeah.
and we adapt to different callings. In 2020, when COVID hit, my grandma was fighting with dementia and Alzheimer's. And she was put in a care facility, but because of COVID, wasn't getting the care that she needed. And my parents actually, and I just want to say that this is not just his, this is his whole life. And this is just one example. Because my grandma ended up moving in with my parents. And taking care of a patient with late-stage dementia is incredibly exhausting. And there's no breaks. There's no days off. There's not even hours off. It's 24/7, your whole life. And so they moved my grandma in, but because of COVID again, we were limited on some of the resources. And so myself and my granny, his mom, actually took turns coming and helping take care of my grandma as well, as much as we could. And I think that kind of started sparking a little bit of, maybe there's a population here who just needs somebody to love them.
Yeah.
They just need somebody that sees them and meets them where they're at and loves them. But even still at that point, there was never any conversation of me joining the board. And when my mom passed away, she passed away, and one of our other board members, Jim Whitlow, passed away. And so when he was evaluating who to fill those roles, he really wanted somebody that would not necessarily replace my mom, but fill that spot in the board that would continue on their legacy.
Yeah.
That if for some reason, he wasn't able to do it, that would love the ministry and that would either continue it or, kind of guide it into its last phases. And so that's what I'm here for. I'm here just to hopefully, God willing, help maintain the legacy that they've worked so hard to build and just get to love on people in the meantime.
That's
Seth,
right.
that was important to me in the decision process once Tracy passed away and Jim did, that as we filled those spots, it was important to me that I had someone that would continue what myself and my wife had built and what, we allowed God to use us to do. And I wanted to make sure, and I think she said it best, the truth is, if I'm just honest with you, if I was gone and out of the picture, the ministry probably would be shut down
Right.
as far as eventually.
Yeah.
But she would be able to handle that, and she would carry on the legacy that me and her mom started until that closure was taking place. So for me, it really wasn't a hard decision of having her put on the board, but I didn't make the decision.
Yeah.
I let everyone else vote. And of whether, and of course she got a unanimous vote, but it is important to me that I have someone My son lives too far away. He lives away from here, so he couldn't. And it made sense that she would be the one that would follow through. And
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
We say it's his legacy. It is literally, when my mom passed away, uh, my dad, my brother, and I were looking at tombstone ideas, and I don't know that we should put this in the podcast.
sure we can.
On their tombstone is actually the Sunset Ministries logo.
Oh,
Probably the
wow.
only tombstone you'll
Cool.
ever see with that logo.
Yeah.
Nobody else has permission to use the logo.
There you go.
Right. But there, if you go to where my mom's buried, there's a big tombstone with their names and the dates
Wow.
and Sunset Ministries logo.
Can
That's
I
it.
tell the rest, though?
Yeah,
Sam?
yeah.
I can't leave it out.
Go for it.
Okay, so myself and Tracy, we used to pick at each other quite heavily. And we developed a name called the Angel and the Idiot. Okay, we actually there is a Facebook page, there are stickers, there's a eBay selling page, whatnot. But anyway, people would say, well, that's terrible. You call her an angel and she calls you an idiot. And I'll tell the story where the name come from. I used to tell people all the time, I said, that right there's my angel. And they'd say, that's sweet. And I said, yes, she's always up in the air harping about something. And she would say, that's why he's an idiot. So to finish her description, yes, on the tombstone is her name with the thing. And then under my side is the Sunset Ministries emblem. But across the bottom of the tombstone, you'll never see another one, I promise. It says across the bottom, engraved for eternity, he loved his angel, she loved her idiot.
Yeah, I don't think you'll ever see
No.
one of those.
So we
Yeah.
have two very unique things on the tombstone.
Wow.
The Sunset Ministries logo and our little saying.
Yeah.
But I do want to say this. I could never have completed what I did without Tracy. There's no way.
Yeah.
The ministry would have never been successful. She encouraged me along the way while continuing to work a full-time job. And unfortunately, but I don't question it, God was done with her purpose here. And so he took her on to glory, and he left me and Casey to continue the legacy on. And we'll get to that at the end, but that is something special that's going to be done this year for the Vacation Bible School.
Okay.
So we'll get to that as we close.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely want to hit on that in Vacation Bible School too. But before we get into that, I sent you a tough question. You told me it was a tough question. But I really want to know, so we asked this when we had the Care Portal ministry on, if you could sum up your ministry, Sunset Ministries, in 2 words, what would they be?
Let's let Casey go first.
Well, like I told you, we had 3 phone calls today about this one question. And it was funny because at the last one, he said, okay, I think I have what I'm thinking. What are you thinking? And as we talked about it, it's funny because ours mirror each other and they're just variations. But for me, my 2 words were servant, because I think serving the senior population in our valley, you have to have a servant's heart to do so. And really any kind of ministry, you've got to have a servant's heart.
Absolutely.
And then the second one is practical, which seems like a funny word, but it goes well with his. But I think, one of the programs that we're getting ready to do that I'll quickly touch on is soap for seniors. And it's giving bars of soaps to seniors that don't necessarily know how they're going to take a bath next and don't know where they're going to get the resources to afford basic necessities like soap.
Wow.
And sometimes I think in ministry, we look at all of the flashy pieces. We look at the music. We look at the speakers. We look at all those other things. But if someone is so busy wondering how they're going to take a bath to get out the door, they're never going to get here for those other pieces.
That's right.
And so I think practical is so much of what Sunset does. We, as a ministry, we take in donations for walkers and wheelchairs, and we give those back to community members at no charge. And we meet a practical need of providing them a way to be able to get around, to go get groceries, to go to appointments. So for me, those were my 2 words, practical and servant.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, and then mine, as she said, were very similar. I had them in a reverse order. Mine was simplicity. You've seen it. Most people that will, if people are watching this, I'm a pretty simple fella. On any given day throughout town, even doing ministry, you're going to see me dressed in a pair of bib overalls and a t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I put this dress shirt on to come here tonight, okay? And I do wear them when I go to churches and speak.
Yeah.
But I'm a pretty simple guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I approach ministry. I just help where I can help.
Right.
I help with what I can help with. As she said, we give out the medical equipment. We never charge for it. Every piece of medical equipment that comes in goes out free of charge. We have had a recent influx where we've had to buy most of the medical equipment. And I don't care. We buy it with the funds that Riverside and other churches help us with, and we give it away free. There's only one piece of equipment in the entire ministry that we don't allow to be kept either. When it is given away, it becomes the property of the person that gets it. And they never are required to give it back. There is one exception to that, which is the knee scooters, but we give it away. And then my second word, besides simplicity, was also service. She said it, and I was close to the same. I just want to be a good servant.
Yeah.
And when I say that, yes, I want to be a good servant to the people that we minister to. When I go into the assisted livings or to a homebound senior, or wherever it may be, I want to be a good servant to them. But the real reason that I want to be a good servant is because I truly want to serve the one that made it possible.
That's right.
And it's more about serving him than it even is about serving others. If I'm serving others with a heart of service to him, then it's what it's supposed to be. And so simplicity and service were my two words that I come up with. And like I said, the people watching this podcast, if they see me on a normal basis, they won't see me in no dress clothes.
Yeah, no, I whenever we're at like Walmart or somewhere and I see you, I'm like, not only are you like 7 foot tall, but you've got those bibs on, and I'm like, there's Eugene.
Well, you probably saw I put a Facebook post up over the weekend of me dressed in I had a dress jacket and a tie and everything, and you would not believe the people that asked me, did you have on bibs underneath that? I mean, nobody's used to seeing me like that.
Yeah.
Because I'm just a normal guy.
Yeah.
I don't try to be who I'm not. I can promise you this, and I actually had to write a article one time for a magazine journal. I wrote an article, sent it in because they requested me to write it, and once I sent it, they wouldn't publish it. And I asked the publisher, I said, why will you not publish the article? He said, everything you said in the article is dead on. But if I publish it, I'm going to lose half the people that read it because it's just so straightforward.
Oh, yeah.
But I've said it this way. If you could rent out the Salem Civic Center and you could gather every pastor from this valley and put them in the Civic Center floor, and then you could let me down from the ceiling into the middle of the crowd, kind of like some kind of, if you could let me down into the middle of the crowd, I promise you, I'm going to stand out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to be like everybody else there. It doesn't matter where I go. Like you said, I can go to Walmart. I heard your voice 2 miles over. I knew it had to be you. I saw bibs from the back, and
there
I knew
you go. Yep.
I'm just a simple man.
Yeah.
But I serve a very complex God, but not so complex that you can't understand him.
That's right.
If you just listen, you can understand exactly what it is he wants you to do for him. And that's what I try to do every day.
Do you think, just going on a little tangent here, because why not? I think about when you talk about the bibs and being simple, in your approaches and stuff like that. I think of like John the Baptist being an evangelist and going before Jesus, and he wore camel fur and ate locust and honey. Do you feel like that's a little bit of the spirit of like the evangelist in you? That's like, I'm just going to be me, and I'm just going to,
Absolutely. But I'm passing on eating the locusts. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, hey.
Unless we dip them in the honey, I might try them. But no, I know what you're saying, Seth. And I don't know that I would put it to that extreme.
Right.
But I can go places and reach people that most pastors can't.
I think that's what I was getting at,
Yeah.
is like that idea of just being able to associate and to be amongst
Right.
many kinds.
I will give you one example, and I'm not going to call out the business because I don't want to put anybody on the spot. But there's a local business that the clientele there and the people that are typically related to that business are not people that most Christians would even hang out with.
Mm.
And I can walk in there, hey, Eugene, how's it going? Have
Yeah.
a seat. Come on in.
Yeah.
Sit down. You know, and it's because that's who I choose to be. I did, and I have received some criticism. I've even heard it, and she knows about some of it. Won't get into none of that because I don't care. It
Right.
doesn't matter. But I have received a little bit of criticism about not doing things the way it should be done.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm reaching people. I'm serving people. But more than anything, like I said, I'm serving the one that called me to do it. And that's what's important.
That's right. Awesome. Well, you know, I love that service and servant were the words that you chose, because the next question that I had was, how important is service, you know, as not only just as like the practical side of it, but as a spiritual practice, you know, something that Jesus did that we should see and, you know, take in our own lives and implement. How important is service to the ministry?
I think service really, truly is everything to the ministry. My brother and I had an interesting conversation that I think applies here a while back. And we were discussing the fact that growing up, our parents taught us an important skill, which is to be able to walk into a room, look around, and figure out what the needs are. And I think most of the time that's, okay, the trash needs to be taken out, you know, basic housekeeping. Right. But I think that is carried over for both of us in the sense of how we go with people that, you know, in work and ministry, wherever, to be able to walk in and to look at people's faces and to say, that person looks like they could just use a hug, or that person, I need to remember to text them tomorrow and check in with them.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we think service is supposed to be this complicated, like I was saying earlier, we think it's supposed to be this complicated, big, beautiful piece. But most of us, I think, in our daily lives, we just need somebody to say hi, to reach out with a smile, to, you know, occasionally send a gift card, or, you know, to just show up and be there. And I think that's so much of what, and I won't even take the credit for that. That's so much of what I'm privileged to be able to watch my dad do every day with Sunset, is that he shows up and he meets those needs for people that I think sometimes it's not that we don't want to see, but we just get so busy in everyday life that they just fly under the radar. We forget to send the text. We forget to check in. We forget to do whatever it is. And that is his every day, 7 days a week. He is following up and checking in on people that are flying under the radar, and he is serving those people every day.
Yeah.
And I think as a Christian, that's an area I want to continue to grow in.
Yeah.
Is to continue to show up and to serve. Because it is, like I said, it's everything. It's I think that's so much of what being a Christian is about. We talk about discipleship, but again, discipleship happens when you show up.
That's right.
It happens when you're there and you're spending time one-on-one with people.
Yeah.
It's there when you are stepping in to help meet needs and to serve practically.
Yeah.
That's what being a Christian should look like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, service is not only something we do for people, but I think the impact it has on us.
Right.
You
know, when I go into the assisted livings, especially when churches such as Riverside and the others support our ministry through the financial giving, there's kind of this implied, well, he's going to share the gospel through Bible study and through scripture reading and stuff of that nature, which happens everywhere we go. But I can tell you, more than any of that, the place that I make an impact, or this ministry makes an impact, is when Bible study's over. And there's a little fella or a little lady that simply wants somebody to take 15 minutes and talk to them.
Yeah.
Away from the crowd, away from the Bible study, just wants to take, they usually don't want anything.
Yeah.
They just want to share their life with you and know that you care enough to sit and listen. They're not expecting answers. They're not expecting results. Oh, if I tell him, he'll get something done. That has happened. I had a little lady at one of our facilities. She was struggling with hearing aids, and she could not afford hearing aids, and she couldn't hear a lick. And Sunset Ministries provided this, and I only give you the price because of the fact that we provided her with a $3,400 pair of hearing aids.
Wow.
That were donated to us.
Wow.
So we didn't buy them.
That's awesome.
But they were donated, and we provided her with the hearing aids that she needed, all because I took time to listen to what her problem was.
Yeah.
And so we were able to present them to her and provide. But most of it is just letting people know that you're there, letting them know that you care.
Yeah.
And just taking time.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's I'm actually going to skip ahead a little bit because I think the conversation's going this way anyways, but you talked about being busy and how our busyness and our culture of being busy, which is really our culture in America, right? Like we're so busy, like running kids to all these different sporting events. We're so busy, with all of our different, even church events that we're doing for the, outreach purposes, and they're all good things, right? But we have so many things in our lives that make us busy. And I just shouted out because I read this book and it just changed my perspective on it. It's The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. If you've not read that, I highly recommend it, especially if you feel super busy all the time. It's like a biblical approach to like living like Jesus did. And it's like, he's the most busy guy of all, but how did he spend his time of rest? How did he, after the work was done, what did he do? But with that kind of, thought in mind, where do you want to see our culture shift in our understanding and approach as we care for seniors?
The church as a whole through the years has taken a shift. I saw it when I was pastoring. Churches, as they should, put a lot of emphasis on family, on youth ministry, providing. And trust me, it's needed. I mean, if there's a generation that needs to be in the house of God, it's the youth of today that are growing up. I get it. But I think the problem is in such a push, not everywhere, but in such a push to see youth and family ministries grow, seniors haven't been forgotten. They just haven't been given the care that they needed.
Right.
Most churches do a good job. They have a group that will get together. But this is where Sunset Ministries is different. We are working with the population that can't come to church. They need the church to come to them.
Right.
And unfortunately, even with our supporting churches, I see it a lot. The churches have stuff for seniors, and they have events, and they have their what do they call it? Now the thought went right out of my head. The name for the senior groups. They have all kinds of senior names and stuff. And that's great. But what about those that can't come to the house of God? What about those that maybe aren't even part of your church, but have been Christians throughout their life and are now in an assisted living and can't get out? And that's what we attempt to do. And it's not really that I expect others to do it.
Right.
There is, Casey's pastor actually said this one time when I come to speak. He invited me to come share our ministry before they ever took us on as missionaries. And I said, okay, Matt, I'll come and speak, but here's what I want you to do. I said, prior to me coming to speak, I want you to try to see if there's another ministry like Sunset within the valley. And then I want you to continue to look, and I want you to tell me how far outside of the Roanoke Valley you had to go to find a ministry like what Sunset is. Well, he walked to the pulpit the night he was going to introduce me to speak, and he said, he gave me a challenge. And he said, the closest one I found was one that's in North Carolina, and I know which one it is. It's an organization down there called Elder Orphan Care. They are friends of ours through myself and through our ministry. They're doing a great work, but they do a lot of senior care in the North Carolina area, and then they also do a overseas mission senior care.
Gotcha.
And then there was an organization similar, but not nearly what we do, up around the Richmond. So you're talking 3 hours outside of the valley to find anybody doing what Sunset Ministries was established to do.
Wow.
Now, with that said, yes, I would love to see more emphasis put on seniors. But I also understand that some pastors and churches can't. And so by partnering with us, you are doing it, whether you think you are or not.
Right.
You're partnering with us, and then I'm going and sharing the message. And I love it. I love to say it this way. Every life, whether it's a salvation or whether it's simply someone receiving spiritual blessing, everyone that I can reach for the Lord, this church and every church that helps support us, every individual, it's not just churches. We have several individual donors as well. Every person receives a part of that blessing. They are part of what we get to do.
Yeah.
And so if you can't do it yourself, at least you can come along and help someone else do it.
That's right.
And we're not asking. I don't go around asking for millions of dollars. I never set a stipulation of what we need. I just say, hey, think about supporting us. Unfortunately, Casey knows this as well as our other board members. In today's society, that's tough.
Yeah.
And it's really sad because I see a big push. If you're a foreign missionary going to a foreign land, churches will take you on in a heartbeat. Oh, man, we love it. Or maybe I shouldn't say in a heartbeat.
Right.
They're more apt to take you on.
Yeah.
If you say you're a local mission or missionary, they look at you kind of cross-eyed, number one. But I understand it because I'm not having to sell my home and move to a foreign land. But the need is still every bit as great.
Right.
I'm reaching a population that others aren't reaching.
Yeah.
And, and then we haven't even touched, didn't even get into she mentioned it some, but the medical side of stuff.
Oh, right.
I mean, that's not just for seniors. We're ministering through the medical stuff with people of all ages.
Oh, wow.
And I know, we move on to the question, but I'll share just a quick one.
Yeah.
I had an organization call me. This has been a year and a half ago, probably. Had an organization call me and say, hey, we got some medical equipment we'd like to donate. I said, okay. I set up a time to go down. I get there. Long story short, they had a bunch of equipment, but they had a little wheelchair that was for a child. And she said, I don't know that you'll want this wheelchair. And I said, why? And she said, well, it's a kid's wheelchair, and you deal with seniors. But on top of that, it's kind of strange. She said, it's pink. She said, so it's going to be a very specific need for that pink wheelchair for a child. And I said, well, I'll take it anyway. Casey can testify to this. The next day, I got a phone call from a teacher in the Roanoke City school system that had a child that was in need of a wheelchair.
Oh, wow.
And I said, well, I don't know. They didn't tell me it was a girl or a boy.
Yeah.
They said, we have a child that's in need of a wheelchair. And I said, well, I only have one. You can have it if it'll work for you. I said, but I got to tell you something. I said, it's pink. She said, it's my student and her favorite color is pink.
Oh, man.
You don't think God provides? God knew when I picked up that wheelchair that little girl needed it.
Yeah.
The next day, and of course, I couldn't share it publicly because it was a child.
Sure.
But she sent me a picture that I was able to share with the board of this little girl sitting in her wheelchair, smiling from ear to ear. Simple things.
Yeah, it's it's awesome. I was going to say it's crazy, but it's awesome how God will provide. And if we just take away the blinders of the practicality of like, oh, well, we don't need that because we do this and that, and we don't do that. If we just say, okay, God, how are you going to use this? Okay, I'm along for the ride.
Right.
So that's an awesome testimony to just how many avenues you can help in.
Oh, and
That happens all the time.
Yeah.
that's a weekly occurrence.
Wheelchairs. It's like you roll them in long enough to clean them and roll them back out. That you don't know you're going to need them until you've already picked them up. It's incredible.
Wow.
I got a transport chair. I had to buy a new one. I got it in day before yesterday, and yesterday received a call somebody needed it. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And I should mention that right now we're actually a board member short, but I do want to just take this time and mention our other two board members. Myself and Casey are. We have one of your church's very own here, Howie McKinney.
Oh, we don't talk about that guy.
Yeah, we won't. He can do his own podcast.
Yeah, I know he's watching this. Or yeah, so Howie, if you're watching this, you just we love you, Howie.
Yes, I love you, buddy. We have Howie, and then we have a lady by the name of Elaine Diamond, and Elaine is also a board member for Sunset. We have had, of course, Jim Whitlow, which was an absolute phenomenal Christian man. He passed away exactly a month after Tracy, my wife, which was a board member, passed away. And then we have originally had another lady by the name of Cherry Covington. Cherry come on board, was fabulous at doing book work and handling all the paperwork. But she had to step away. Her family was going through some trials, and she needed to step away. And so, she asked, could she step away from the board for a while? And so she is... so we're actually a board member short right now, but God will send that when it's time,
Right.
And I think we should also mention that we have 2 volunteers that really go above and beyond. We have Alan Diamond, who's married to our board member, Elaine, and they are actually going by the ministry building tomorrow. One of the unseen parts of what we do is it's a lot of cleaning and behind the scenes. Every piece of medical equipment comes in. We have to go in and we clean those items. And we can't always make them sparkling, but we do our best. So they're going to be there tomorrow just cleaning equipment.
Wow.
And nobody will ever know. There's not going to be pictures on Facebook, but they are absolutely serving the Lord. And Alan delivers things with my dad, picks things up. He is always willing to go above and beyond. And then Melinda Gibbs, she's our volunteer coordinator for Vacation Bible School. Incredible woman. I don't know what we would do without Melinda. We are so incredibly blessed to have her to help us every year.
And I am allowed to say this because she said it's okay. If you're watching this podcast, please, if you think about it, breathe a prayer for Melinda. She is currently going through some cancer, and it is, I never get it right, metastatic, which means it's spread through her body. And I know she said she did not mind me sharing it with folks.
Yeah.
So pray for her and her husband, George, as well. Because volunteers like that are hard to find. And those 2 especially that Casey, they've actually won our Volunteer of the Year for the past 2 years. One of them won it one year and the other one won it another. So if you want an award for Volunteer of the Year, you got to help.
That's right. That's right. Well, and it's awesome, so many volunteers like that who are just stalwarts for the ministries that, not just in churches, but local ministries. They do so much, but then they don't mention anything about their personal lives.
Right.
Yeah.
So just uplifting them in prayer, I think is awesome. Go ahead.
Sorry. So you had mentioned about the culture shift and understanding seniors. And I did want to share, as far as that question, there was one piece that I have personally been working on, but I think it's something that probably all of us can work on, but it's really applicable to seniors. So Dad touched on slowing down and taking time to talk to seniors. I would go a step beyond that my challenge for myself, but that I think is good for all of us, is I have made it a point that when I'm talking to, especially a senior, but even, younger adults, that when somebody says, will you pray for me about this, that we stop in that moment and we pray together. And sometimes that is real uncomfortable because you don't know what to say, or you worry if you're going to say the wrong thing, or, whatever else, or you're in the middle of Walmart. That's happened. But I have found I was incredibly blessed recently there was a lady outside of a restaurant I was at, and it was just me and my children. And I'm always hesitant when it's just me and my children. But she looked lost. She was a little older lady, and she looked lost. And so I just said, ma'am, do you need help figuring out where you're going? Just a simple question. And she was like, I'm trying to figure this out because I have to be at Lewis Gale for chemotherapy. And I was like, well, would you mind if I ask what kind of chemotherapy you're going through? And we started chit-chatting and just talking about it. And she was sharing with me some struggles that she was going through with chemo and how it was making her feel. And I said, can we just pray together? And we stood in the parking lot and both cried together and prayed together. But I left with such a blessing to just be able to stand before the Lord with that woman and get to talk to the Lord and bring her before the Lord and pray for her. Yeah. And I will probably never see her again, but her face, I can still see it in my head. Um, and I hope that that encounter was as much of a blessing for her as it was for me. But that has been my challenge to myself, especially in talking to seniors, is when
Yeah.
they ask you to pray, to stop and to pray with them in that moment.
Yeah.
You don't know if you're going to have another moment, whether they're 80 or 50, you never know.
Yeah.
But I think it speaks volumes to them when somebody actually takes the time to do it. Because if you're anything like me, you say, yes, I will pray for you. And you go home and half the time you forget.
Yeah.
Not that
In
you
one
don't
ear,
care.
out the other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just forget.
Yeah.
So I found that doing it in the moment is really, has really been a game changer
Yeah,
for me.
absolutely.
Seth, to follow up on my original thing, what I said about simplicity, and to follow up another example, about a year after my wife passed away, I met a lady, and I've been dating her now for about a year and a half. And her name is Nora, wonderful lady. And myself and her had gone to Dollar General up on Wildwood Road one day, and we're in Dollar General shopping around, and she knew the lady that worked there. And so as we were leaving, something was said about prayer. I'd done gone outside, and something was said about prayer, and Nora come out, and she was telling me what the lady needed prayer for. Well, about that time, the lady stepped out the door. Long story short, we stood and prayed with her. They're on the front sidewalk at Dollar General, but that's not where the story gets interesting. We pray for the lady on the front stoop. I'm wearing bib overalls and a t-shirt, of course.
Yeah.
We pray for this lady on the front stoop of Dollar General. About the time I say amen, a car comes flying off of Wildwood Road into a parking spot. A young black fella jumps out of the car, looks at me, and he says, "Were y'all just praying for her?" And I said, "Yes, sir." I'm thinking, uh-oh. He looks at me and he said, "Would you pray for me too?"
Oh,
Off of the road,
man.
because we were there.
Man.
We stood, we talked to that young man, we understood what was going on in his life. I prayed for him. We invited him to church with us on Wednesday. That was, I think, on a Monday. We invited him to church, and of course, what everybody says, "Oh yeah, I'll come to church with you." I left thinking, well, we prayed with him. That was a great blessing, but I don't know if I ever see him again. On Wednesday night, he showed up for church.
Wow.
He showed up multiple times after that for church.
Wow.
All because we were there.
You stopped and prayed.
Because we stopped and prayed.
Yeah, and I think that's something I've been learning recently is the obedience in the moment. And oftentimes if you miss that moment, it can be a disobedience if you have that feeling of like, oh, I should stop and pray now, but you don't. That's an act of disobedience. And I think that taking those moments not only like is a blessing to the people we're praying with, but like you said, Casey, it's a blessing to us in the moment. And we often leave those moments feeling like even more invigorated for the Lord, and even more on fire just to like share the gospel and to take that news.
Yeah.
That's an awesome testimony
Yeah.
to.
Well, and we all have busy lives. And there's not one of us here, not probably anybody watching, that hasn't got up one day and you haven't prayed, you haven't studied, you haven't done what you should do or what you could do even.
Yeah.
And then you go to the next day and you think, wow, I never read no scripture yesterday. I didn't even pray yesterday. And I think I don't want to sound like the typical preacher, but prayer and Bible study are important to the child of God. And that's where I'm very blessed now. I made some mistakes. This is not easy. Casey's heard me say this. I made some mistakes in my marriage, even as a Christian, as a pastor, running a ministry. I made some mistakes in my marriage. And one of the things that I told myself after my wife passed was if God ever sent someone my way again, I wasn't going to make some of those same mistakes. I still am an idiot. But anyway, we won't go there. But anyway, so Nora and myself committed right off the bat to pray with each other at least once every single day. We have not missed a time that I remember of praying together. We also do Bible study together.
Yeah.
Even if we can't do it together in person, we do it over the phone. We'll do Bible study together. We pray together because that's important.
Yeah.
Look, it's important for me as an individual to read and study and pray. It's important to that relationship If me and her are going to have a relationship, we need to do it. But then it's also important to further God's kingdom, because how am I going to know what to say to someone
That's right.
if I haven't studied it for myself or haven't sought God's direction in it?
That's right. Well, all of that's great. And, we've mentioned several times this VBS that Sunset Ministries does. Can you tell me a little bit more about the senior VBS and do you have the 2026 dates already?
We don't have a date yet.
Okay.
We'll get that soon.
Yeah.
But VBS is my personal favorite part of Sunset. It started, this will be our 5th year. So this year is going to be really special. It started because my mom and dad were sitting in a church service with Pastor George LaRue. Did I say that right? LaRue, I'm sorry. And he was making kind of just an offhanded joke about, we do VBS for kids. Why don't we do them for adults? And my mom, dad said you could see the change. My mom's like, why don't we do them for adults? And she was a bit of a go-getter. She was a planner. She did VBS many, many years. And so they started planning it out, and that first year had a great turnout.
Wow.
And then she passed away after that first year.
Mm.
And that second year, an even better turnout. And the volunteer base just grew, and we had fantastic volunteers. And the past 2 years, it has just been incredible. I think this year we left, and afterwards the board and our volunteer coordinator went and sat down for lunch just to kind of recap and just kind of sit in all of what God did. And, we've heard testimonies of people that have looked forward to this event an entire year, that it is the highlight of their summer. People that at the Salem Senior Center Fair, the health fair, they have come up to us and said, we need the dates. We need to mark the calendar. It's making a difference for seniors. It's giving them something to look forward to. And it amazes me that people get so excited about it, because the entire focus is, yes, we have games, we have bingo, which everybody loves. We have prizes and snacks, but we spend time just worshiping Jesus. And to hear 100, 200 seniors sing and just praise the Lord together, it's like this tiny glimpse of what heaven's going to be like, just to hear people worshiping all together. And then to get to sit and hear the pastor or whoever the speaker is just share the gospel with them, and to know that those people, whether they have another day or whether they have another 15, 20, 30 years, that they have heard the gospel and have the opportunity to spend eternity with us.
It's never too late, right?
No, never. And it's just an incredible experience.
Wow.
We're so blessed to have incredible youth group from New Covenant Christian that comes and serves and interacts with the seniors. It's really fun to watch a group of teenagers and group of seniors interact together. It's a neat blessing. And we have people from almost all of our supporting churches that come and volunteer every year. Some of them we keep encouraging just to attend because they're seniors too, but they love to serve, and so they want to volunteer. But it is just an incredible event. And this year, since it is our 5th year, it's going to be a little special. We're planning to really do this year in honor of Jim and my mom Tracy, and just celebrate how far the ministry has come and what God has done through Sunset and through the Vacation Bible School.
Wow. Awesome.
The first year when we decided to initially do it, myself and Tracy talked about it, and we're like, if we could get 25 or 30 seniors to come, it would be a total success. At 103.
Oh, wow.
So the second year we thought, well, that was just probably a fluke.
First time you're doing it.
Second year, 125.
Oh, wow.
Third year, we jumped from 125 to 204.
Oh, goodness. I did not know that.
Yes,
wow.
And then this past year, the fourth year, it actually dropped just a little. We about 188, but we had a bus full of seniors that couldn't get there.
Oh.
So we would have gone over the 200 mark again, because they had more than 12 people on the bus. We'd have gone over to the 200 mark again for the second year in a row.
That's cool.
And if you're worried about that, there's enough room. It can have its crowded spots.
Yeah.
I mean, you would think that with 200 people, somebody would do something besides bingo, but that's not usually the case. No, they're playing other games. They're doing crafts.
Yeah.
They're eating snacks. They're listening to live music. We have live music every year. We have a special guest speaker, and we've made it a point to have a speaker from a different background every year, so that we're reaching. And I would like to say that part of it too. I'm asked all the time. So, what is Sunset Ministries? I should have covered this at the beginning. What is Sunset Ministries? Is it a Baptist ministry? No. Is it a Methodist ministry? No. Is it Pentecostal? No. So we'll go through the whole list with somebody, and they'll say, "Oh, I got it." Seth, they always do this, and I love it. I got it. I said, "What's that?" You're non-denominational. To which I understand, but I look at them usually, and I'll smile, and I love that question or that statement, because I'll look at them, I say, I'm not anything. I know exactly what I believe.
Yeah.
But Sunset Ministries functions as what I term a multi-denominational ministry, because we don't get the privilege of just ministering to one group or the other.
Yeah.
We get a privilege of ministering to everyone, from every background. He's now since passed away, so I don't mind saying it, but I ministered to a fella. He would sit with his feet touching my pulpit right in front of me, stare at me the whole time. Never failed. When I was done speaking, he'd get up, give me a hug, pat on the back, tell me how much he loved me, how much he appreciated it. He was a practicing Roman Catholic. So we're reaching people from all backgrounds. I have Baptist, Methodist, Lutheran, Pentecostal. I have, I've even had folks from the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons in our services. We don't go in promoting a certain doctrine.
Right.
We go in sharing Christ. And Christ alone. And I think that's what's important. And that's what I would like for the people listening, and even the pastors that support what we do. Your pastor is very understanding of that. I know, because I've talked to him, and all of them are. But that's what I'd like them to know is we are going in representing Christ.
Right.
And the churches understand, those pastors understand the need for that. More than representing a doctrinal stand, it is representing Christ as a whole to a lost and dying world.
Absolutely.
And so that's what Sunset Ministries attempts to do, is go in and share the gospel. I steer away from the doctrinal positions in my preaching. It's going to happen. You're going to hit on it.
Sure.
It's going to happen. But you steer away from those the best you can, but by still presenting the message.
Yeah.
And, and I never want to take for granted any church that supports the work we do.
Well, and too, like, I can imagine if you're witnessing to someone or, serving someone who for the last 50, 60 years has been strongly one way, you're hurting your witness if you say, oh, no, we're this, we're that, and we don't do that.
Right. And we will occasionally have a person that will say, I'm not coming to your service because you're not this, whatever. And they'll put a title to it.
Right.
And, I can't please everybody.
That's true. Yeah.
But the majority will still come in. I had a gentleman show up at one of my facilities this week. He walks in and he said, I just come in here to see what you were doing. And I said, well, have a seat there. And he immediately began to tell me he did not believe in Christ. He did not believe in the Bible. But yet he was in my service.
There you go.
And he sat there and he heard me proclaim the gospel. And he rolled himself out when it was done. Hey, he might not have believed, but maybe that one thing he heard, he went back to his room this week and thought about.
Yeah.
And it made a difference in his life.
That's true. Absolutely.
So.
That's all we can do is present it. Yep. Well, all of that's great. Getting into kind of the practical, how can people who are listening support Sunset Ministries, whether by donations, volunteering their time, any of that?
So I can start with that. There's a few ways. So right now we are looking for a volunteer to be a secretary and treasurer for us. That is completely a volunteer role, but it's definitely a need that we have at the ministry. So if anyone's interested in doing that, we would love to talk and do interviews with people and spend some time getting to know them. It's it's a big job, it's an important job, and it makes sure that we can keep going.
Yeah.
So that's probably our primary need right now. Outside of that, we do need some help in some of our facilities with speakers, people that are willing to go in and just share and encourage and love on the seniors. And those are things that we can help provide training for, that they can shadow my dad, that they can, that we could even go and, help with pieces of that until they're comfortable in taking over, or at least assisting, once a month or something of that sort. So that's another really practical way to help. There's always the financial side, anybody, and it doesn't have to be just churches. We do have individual donors that support us monthly or once a year, whatever they're able to do. And most of those, it's interesting, a lot of them are people who we've been privileged to help previously, that when their life circumstance changed a little bit, they said, you were here for me when I needed it. I would love to help you now and help other people. And so that's always a way that we can use assistance. And the last one that I can think of off the top of my head is really just if you have a family member that is using medical equipment and no longer needs it, and it's still in, good, safe condition, we do take donations.
Okay.
But also, word of mouth, people telling other people about us and what we do. We're always open to opportunities to go into churches, whether it's to preach, whether it's to do trainings, whether it's to, just talk a little bit about the ministry.
Yeah.
We're always open to those, and that happens by word of mouth. So.
Awesome. Yeah. So on do you have like a website online where people can donate, or they do it through mail or?
Right now, we tried setting up a web page.
Yeah.
And it was so much to try to keep up with. And at that time, she wasn't part of the board, and I couldn't keep up with it. So the web page is kind of filtered. It's still out there.
Yeah.
And it does have a PayPal link, but I
Okay.
don't even know the PayPal now. So, but we have a Facebook page that they can reach out. Most of the stuff we receive is in check form, or however someone likes to. But I do want to say this: it's not about money.
Sure.
It's definitely. There is not a single person, myself included. You heard her say, "I do this 6-7 days a week." No one in Sunset Ministries gets paid a penny, including me. Everybody does what we do as a volunteer.
Wow.
So when a church, an individual gives money to the ministry, they can be assured that it is going back out for ministry purposes.
Right.
I'm not sitting around eating steak dinners with someone's money. And now there are times where if we have a special function, I may take the board out to eat. But that's understandable. My point is no one is making money off of this ministry. So everything that comes in goes back out to serve the community. Even just recently, just yesterday, as a matter of fact, we had a rather large donation come in from an individual that said, I seen the need, I seen what you're doing to help seniors, and I just want to do my part. And, it makes a difference. I like to say it this way. What we're doing out there is we are out there putting feet to the gospel.
Yeah.
It's easy to sit in a church pew and say, this is what we should be doing. This is where we should go.
Yeah.
But when you actually take your feet and put feet to the gospel.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes a world of difference. The name Sunset Ministries come from something I used to read. A church we used to attend had a sign over the door when you were leaving the church. And it said over the door, it said, Beyond the Sunset. And through the years, that always stuck with me. The population that we are working with are in the sunset years of their life.
Yeah.
Time is growing dim for them. And we want to be there to make sure that they're loved, cared for, and receive the gospel. Not every day is about proclaiming the gospel. Some days it's about going and fixing a broken window. Some days it's about cleaning a wheelchair when you don't really feel like cleaning a wheelchair. But we do it because it is a way for us to share and give back to people that we feel deserve the honor, which are the seniors. I mean, there's not a one of us here right now. None of the three of us would be here without somebody older than us.
That's right.
So, and even above that, grandparents and such. So I like that. And one of the things I have on our slogan for the ministry, my favorite one is putting feet to the gospel. That's been on our vehicles and everything. But I love the saying, at the end of the day, all that really matters is what have you done with Christ. And that's how we try to run Sunset Ministries.
I love that.
At the end of the day, what have you done with Christ? And I think that's important, to keep it simple, but serve where you can and to do what you can.
Awesome. Well, I thank you both for spending the time and talking with me. Is there anything else? I'll put all the links to your Facebook page and everything in the description of the video. And so people who are looking for ways to get more information can find you that way. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else before we close out that you want to share with us?
Well, I would like to give a second shout out.
Yeah.
Those of you that are listening, if you get a chance, go on Facebook and look up Things Hope for Ministries. It's Casey's. There's a lot of her personal testimony on there that'll give you a little more background on her as well. I always want to promote my girl. I know what she's been there through because I was right there with her through it all.
We'll put that in the description as well.
And so, look her up. She's with another ministry that's called
Word Plus.
Don't go to crying now.
I always cry. The Word Plus Incorporated.
Word Plus Incorporated, and I'm with Light to Haiti Ministries as well.
Okay.
With a missionary work there in Haiti.
Cool.
But for me, I told you I have one final closing statement. You got anything else before you?
No, thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to say it this way. And I guess I'll look at your camera.
Look right there.
I've tried to avoid that camera this whole time, but I guess I'll look at it. For those of you that are listening, for the churches that support us, for the individuals that support us, but more for everyone that's listening to this podcast today. We are doing what we do, and we're here because we love you. You say, well, you don't even know me. How can you love me? We love you through the Spirit of God. We're here because we love you. But it does not matter how much we may love you. There is a God that loves you more than we ever possibly could. Please don't forget that.
Amen. I think that's a beautiful statement to end on. Thank you both for having a conversation with me. And if anybody's looking for more information, you can check the video description.
Thank you, Seth. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.